So welcome, Tori. And thanks to everyone who's signed in here. And we're going to record this session and we'll just dive right in. So Tori, tell us about yourself and the wonderful things you guys do with Woof.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah. And I actually have a presentation if I'm able to share my screen.
Yeah,
I
sure. So
think
how do you share? Um, no,
there's a
so I
share
should be
screen
able to, are you
icon at
able
the
to?
bottom.
So are you able to use the share screen
It said
button?
that the host had
Multiple. Okay,
disabled.
there you go. All right. So,
Perfect.
okay,
Okay.
awesome. Go
Let
ahead.
me know if this works here.
Yep, it works. And I'll make it a gallery view.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Okay. You can see it all
Woohoo.
right?
Yes.
Okay,
Perfect. Yeah.
awesome.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much again, Sarah, for the invitation. Really excited to be here and just share a pretty brief overview about the WIF program for the next 15 minutes. And my name's Tori Fetro. I'm the Outreach and Marketing Manager for WIF USA. And I've worked for the organization for the last 10 years now and really just have the pleasure of working and collaborating with our farm volunteers. You will hear me refer to them as woofers. That's what we call them. I also work with our host farmers and students and lots of parents who have a child or want to take their children woofing. And yeah, just consider myself really, really lucky to be a part of this inspiring community. And of course, one of my favorite parts of my jobs is actually telling people about WOOF, sharing about the organization with those who may have never heard of it before or might be thinking about woofing. So we will go ahead and get started here. And I have also woofed on many farms myself, both in the US and abroad over the past several years. So I'll be throwing in a few super short anecdotes about those experiences. And yeah, for those who may have never heard of WOOF before, might be wondering what it stands for. It stands for Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. And we are a nonprofit organization that is part of a much larger worldwide effort to help link visitors with organic farmers, promote an educational exchange, and help build a global community that's really conscious of ecological farming practices. So here at WOOF, our goal is really to help connect anyone regardless of age, background, experience, anyone who's interested in learning about organic farming or sustainable living, learning how to grow your own food, or maybe you're more interested in traveling and experiencing some new cultures and different way of life. Our goal is to really help connect those people with experienced and passionate host farmers all around the world in a very safe, inclusive, and welcoming environment. So currently the WOOF program can be found in over 130 countries around the world, which is really exciting. I always like to remind people that depending on where you live, you also don't usually have to travel too far to WOOF. Here in the US, we have about 1,500 farms that are a part of our organization. I know in Canada, they have around 700 across the country. So I just always like to remind people that there might be a host in your own local area or in your own backyard that you're always welcome to visit if you sort of want to get a sense for how the program works, but not make any sort of bigger time commitment. But the way WOOF works in general, the general agreement is that woofers spend about half of each day helping out on the farm, learning right alongside the host farmer. And in exchange for that help, the visitor receives free food and meals throughout the entire length of their stay. They also receive free accommodations, and then, of course, the hands-on education and training about whatever it is that they're doing there on the farm. And then after helping out, the rest of the day is the woofers to do with as they wish. So whether that's just exploring the local area that they're in, enjoying time together as a family, hiking, biking, swimming, relaxing, you name it, that's the woofers' time to do whatever they would want. The location and the length of stay with WWOOF, it's completely up to the woofer and the host farmer. So opportunities to visit farms range anywhere from a couple of hours or an afternoon, maybe on a farm in your local area, a weekend, all the way up to several weeks, several months, an entire growing season, or sometimes even longer on any one of the farms that are a part of our program. And WWOOF is designed to be super, super flexible so that people can tailor it entirely to meet their own schedule and also their own interests. And so right now, we have over 15,000 hosts globally that are a part of our organization. They're incredibly diverse. Here are just a few photos from those many, many farms. They range from really small family homesteads, backyard kitchen gardens, all the way up to, biodynamic vineyards, bison ranches on thousands of acres, urban farms, and sort of everything in between. And they offer a really wide variety of different educational opportunities. So everything from learning about different, organic growing methods, sustainable living, green construction, permaculture, beekeeping, fiber arts, and a lot more. And the majority of them are definitely smaller scale, family run operations, but it sort of is the whole gamut. So the hosts overall are a part of WWOOF because they're really eager to teach visitors, about what they're doing there and really pass on their knowledge about sustainable living. I'll note that WWOOFing itself is a non-monetary exchange, so no money changes hands between host farmers and woofers. And when it comes to membership and who can be a woofer, the answer is anyone who is interested in farming and community. We absolutely welcome to join our organization. Again, regardless of experience, the majority of our members do not have any prior farming experience. Many of them are visiting a farm for the very first time. So we just like to say that WWOOFing might be a good fit for you if you, of course, have an interest in learning about organic farming, perhaps looking to immerse yourself in a new culture or a different way of life. As I mentioned, maybe interested in traveling and exploring. That could be super close to home or somewhere across the country or around the world. And you're passionate about the real food movement as well. That always helps. But we really have everyone from a lot of parents or a parent with young children take their families out to farms and have really great experiences. A lot of high school students taking gap years, go woofing, lots of college students, young adults, friends, couples, retirees. It really is the full spectrum when it comes to membership, and there's definitely no upper age limit to woofing ever. Don, who is on the top row here in the center, he retired a couple of years ago, retired from his job, and has spent, I believe, the last 3 years woofing on over 30 host farms across the country and has had the most phenomenal time. So I think his story is always really inspiring. And just wanted to show a few more photos here to just give you hopefully a little sense of what some WWOOF experiences can look like depending on what you are interested in learning about, where you want to WWOOF, all that good stuff. So as I mentioned, with WWOOF, your meals are provided in exchange on the farm for your helping hands. So oftentimes, it's really common to go out and harvest produce right from the garden for lunch or dinner for meals that day. Preparing shared meals together, I think, is one of the most beautiful parts of the WWOOF experience, really getting to see where your food comes from, whether that's, canning tomatoes or making fresh pasta in Italy, which I've had a lot of friends do, or these garden spring rolls from one of our host farms in Maine. Personally, some of my very fondest memories have come from, the meals that we've shared together, and definitely some of the best food that I've ever had. A couple more photos here of what mealtime can look like on WWOOF farms around the world. And then accommodations, I think, is a really another fun part of the WWOOF exchange, where you would be staying on the farm if you're looking to stay for more than one day. Accommodations can look really different based on, or depending on where in the world you're woofing. They come in all different shapes and sizes. They should always be suitable and sanitary. That is definitely a requirement to host woofers, but they can also be really unique and really rustic. So here's just a couple of photos of different accommodations on some farms we have. And members, woofers have the option to search for farms based on accommodations. So if you were really jazzed to, I don't know, stay in a yurt on a farm in the desert in Mexico, that would be something that you could search for, or have your own cabin, or really want a super comfortable bed in a home. Those are all things that people can search for when looking at host farms, which I think can be really helpful. And then we get to the farm activities, super fun stuff, different sustainable living projects. Of course, the educational aspect is a huge component of WWOOF. So woofer activities, you can find yourself doing a lot of different things depending on the season, depending on the farm. WWOOF is absolutely centered around this educational aspect. Everything that people are helping out with should be tasks and projects that directly relate to the farm and support the farm, but are also really educational for the woofer. So some activities pictured here, some that I've experienced, have included, of course, helping to care for animals, green building projects, preparing food, harvesting. With my personal WWOOF experience, when I was in Iceland a couple of years ago, I helped out in a greenhouse that was powered by geothermal energy, which was very new for me and very awesome. It was also a sheep farm, so I helped care for these incredible Icelandic sheep. I woofed on a chicken farm here in California, never had like a super big urge to work with chickens before, but discovered after a few days that it was really rewarding and I loved it, and met a lot of other woofers from around the world. And then, doing everything from helping to build a cabin in the woods of Maine and harvesting apples on a farm in Denmark. I don't think my coworker Jenna is pictured here, but she's helped out. She's woofed in Thailand and helped out with some really incredible bamboo building projects there. So depending on what you might be interested in learning about, there's also ways to filter down the farm search based on different farming practices and methods and languages spoken, and more of that good stuff. And then, as I alluded to, there's also a lot of free time while woofing because you're only helping out for half a day, 5 days per week. So here's Jenna's photos. She used some of her free time while she was woofing to hike Mount Kilimanjaro. Very productive, sounded absolutely incredible. And then also explored, local hot springs and swimming holes with other woofers that she, had met for the first time on the farm. I've done a lot of hiking in my off time while woofing, taking in the fall colors in Maine, which was completely new to me. Sightseeing all of the different towns, and host farmers themselves are also really eager to and excited and super willing to, take you on local adventures or show off their local area. So I think that can be a really neat part of the program as well. And then wrapping up here, can never talk about woofing without talking about the people that you meet on the farm. It's an incredible way to experience a different culture, a very different way of life, meet new people, make memories with your host family, which a lot of woofers become really, really close to their hosts. The people has always been the most meaningful part of the WWOOF experience for me. I've met a lot of people from all over the world woofing. We hear really often from people who go back and visit the same farm again years later, woofers who go end up going on adventures with each other after meeting each other on the farm. So I do think it's a really neat way to meet like-minded people and also share, new ideas and traditions. So the last thing I just wanted to mention here briefly is that WWOOF countries, we each have our own online directory of host farms where all of the incredible connections are made between our host farmers and woofers, and it's updated almost hourly. So if you go to, WWOOF USA's website or any WWOOF website, you'll see this online directory, and you can, before you sign up, read the full profiles, check out where they're located, their availability. You can read through reviews from past woofers who've gone there to learn about their experience. And yeah, for those of you who might be interested in, woofing sometime soon, or maybe down the road, or maybe you're just hearing about it for the first time, you can always go to woof.net. That's sort of the global WWOOF landing page. It has a map, a world map, and can connect you to each WWOOF country's national website. And you can then contact coordinators in that specific country about woofing there. But yeah, that is sort of my maybe brief, maybe not so brief general WWOOF overview. And yeah, just really wanted to thank you, Sarah, for inviting me to share WWOOF with your group tonight. And here's my contact information, our organization's website, and I'm always super happy to answer any questions that come up, or also send farm recommendations for people who are thinking about woofing in the US. So thanks so much again.
Well, thank you so much, Tori, because that was like a very comprehensive,
Okay.
like,
I'm glad you feel that way.
Yeah, just go, keep going, because, okay, look at the time. And I know your time is limited, and you mentioned. So I think I've been doing a lot of research on the WWOOF site for over a year, I'd say almost 2 years. And the only reason I haven't taken the membership, and maybe you can give us a little bit of an idea of what it means to be, I know the membership is really tiny. It's like $40 or something for the whole year. So if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So depending on the country, membership is anywhere from $20 to $60. And that's a year-long membership from the date you sign up. And if you're planning on woofing with your children who are under 18, that would cover your family to do so. And so a lot of the information, as I mentioned, is available to people before they're members, but because of the privacy agreements and all the location details that host farmers put out there, we do require that people are registered members in order to contact farms and send out visit requests to make their visits official.
Right. And also, if you can speak to the fact that before we even get to a place, we have to make sure that we're able to get a visa. And if you can clarify that point, that say we're going from Canada to US, there is some nuance that we should not say at the immigration. If you can give a little bit of an information on that.
Yeah, we do offer more information about visas on our website. Depending on, how you would be getting to the US, it can definitely vary by country. We do share that woofing should not be the primary purpose for your trip to the US. It is a cultural and educational exchange program. However, depending on where you're entering from, if you were to mention that you were working on a farm, it's very easy for that to get flagged as work, which then that requires a separate type of visa. So for anybody outside of the US who signs up, we do send them information about different visa requirements and what needs to be obtained.
Right. And have you experienced people from Canada coming in? Have you met other Canadians on farms? And
yeah, definitely.
anything?
I've met a lot of Canadians on farms woofing over the years. A handful of them in Hawaii when I was woofing there, for sure. Yeah, and I believe the majority of them were just here using I don't know the official name of it, the tourist visa that might be valid for 90 days. But we have a lot of members from Canada who have really phenomenal experiences on host farms.
Right. And I read that recently some farms, especially during the last 2 years, even started helping members to come and work from home. So how did that work? Can you give a little bit of an idea? Like they would work from the farm, like they were already working, so they weren't taking time off work.
Yeah.
And do you have any idea on how that might work?
I mean, personally, my coworker worked remotely from farms during COVID and had a great experience. We had a lot of people whose jobs moved to remote working during COVID who ended up arranging really long-term stays on host farms because they wanted to get out of their homes or apartments. And those were all situations that were arranged directly with the host farmer. So I don't have super specific details, but we did have, if I had to estimate, at least a few hundred of our members who were able to do that during COVID.
Okay, so which means that people have access to internet and everything in the homes that they're staying in. And yeah.
Correct. A lot of our hosts, they have super flexible schedules themselves, again, because woofers are only helping out for a few hours a day. It should say at the bottom of each host farm profile their internet status, but always a great thing for people to connect or to double check and confirm with hosts. But the majority of host farms do have really reliable internet because they need to be responding to messages from woofers.
Yeah. So there's a question from Hannah. Have you ever whooped on a Canadian farm?
I have not, but I sure hope to. I love and adore the coordinator of Woof Canada. She's amazing. And for anybody who is looking for farm recommendations in Canada, I'm happy to connect you to her. She's incredible. They have a really, really good WOOF program, and it is very high on my list of places. Actually, I'm planning to do it next fall because we're planning to have our WOOF conference next September in Canada. So I'm planning to WOOF then.
And so, because when I was searching for Canadian WOOFs, then I only found Nanaimo, BC. I didn't find any other farm, which is strange.
Yeah, that is strange. I'd be happy to follow up with you and connect you to Becky or Robin in Canada too.
Okay. Is it possible to send in the chat, how do we connect with the Canadian
absolutely.
coordinator?
They just launched their new website, which I should have typed www. But if you go to their contact page and contact them, it goes directly to the coordinator.
Yeah. And so, I mean, of course, WOOF stands for Worldwide Opportunities in Organic Farming. So we're assuming that every farm is organic, right?
Yes. And that doesn't mean all farms are certified organic because that's a very costly process for a lot of people. But all farms, yes, they have to be using only organic practices. And correct.
All right. Anyone else for any questions here? I'm just I've been so interested. I can't tell you. I think it's the scheduling with your family's life, and especially when you have children who are in college, then you can't leave them away for a long time.
Yes.
Go away. So I'm just waiting for that opportune time. And so I guess, Hannah, go ahead, ask your question.
I don't want to jump Carrie's, but you had some really beautiful pictures in your first two slides, and I know two people who came in a little late. Do you mind just showing those really pretty pictures of that, like the Turkish farm and all that, like very pretty?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Hannah. There we go. That was one of them.
So
gorgeous.
I'm going to Turkey. I'm going to Turkey in December. I wish I knew about the WOOF farm.
Oh my goodness. Yes, they have an incredible program too. Berkay, their coordinator, is amazing. God. I was just with him in Denmark. Yeah. Well, next trip.
Yes. No, I think I have time, and I'll try and see. It's just a very short trip on my way to somewhere else. Then.
Well, again, Sarah, I can connect you directly with him, and
please.
He's visited all the farms. So
oh my God, yes. Okay, definitely. Oh my God, I can't believe it. And so Carrie, did you have a question?
I think she typed into the chat here.
Carrie, you can ask. Can you tell us your personal WOOF farms you visited?
I visited a lot.
Yes, Carrie, go ahead.
My question was, if you could just tell us some of your personal farm experiences, where you've been and what you did on each of the farms.
Yes. So I visited, too many to name in this call, but I will pick out a few. I did a solo woofing trip to Iceland a few years ago. And at the time, they actually only had 4 woof host farms in their whole country. So I was able to visit them all. And yeah, they were mostly small family homesteads in really, really rural areas, but doing incredible things. As I mentioned, the geothermal greenhouse, working in that was incredible. A lot of people have geothermal greenhouses in Iceland. A lot of tending to animals. One of the places I went it sort of served as a refuge for reindeer that had been abandoned, which I guess was a common thing where they lived. They sort of backed up to a glacier. And so they would often find baby reindeer that had been abandoned. So they would bring them into the barn, nurse for them, care for them. And I arrived like 20 minutes after they had brought in a very, very small reindeer. And so that was a super unique experience. Woofing in Maine during the fall on a beautiful veganic vegetable farm. I was with woofers from all over the East Coast, which was really fun. I woofed on a couple of different farms in Hawaii, mostly fruit farms that had a ton of woofers there. So that was like a very social, interactive community environment. And then I've done a lot of just day visits on farms in between, again, showing up, helping out with harvesting or whatever projects they had going on, and not even necessarily spending the night. But yeah, I always try and incorporate woof into my trips in some way. And I was just in Denmark last month for an international woof conference, and we visited this incredible apple farm on an island. So we got to harvest apples together, and then a vineyard. And yeah, just super, super unique, special experiences wherever I've gone.
So can you actually pick one is your top memory, or it's too hard?
My goodness. I think the 2-week Iceland woofing trip as a whole was such a memory, because it felt like I was on a completely different planet. And it was one of the, I guess it was the first woofing trip that I'd done completely by myself. So I had to step out of my comfort zone a little bit. And there were not other woofers on the farms. It was just me and the host families. So I guess that would be not my favorite, but the one that stands out the most.
Are there a lot of people that find mates on these woofing excursions?
A good question, Carrie. I have heard of a few stories. Yep. People email us a few years later and they're like, we're going back to get married on the host farm where
Too
we're
late for us, Carrie. I wish she knew.
Anything was possible, Carrie.
Young adult children.
Yeah.
What was that?
I'm happily married, but I have 3 young adult children.
Send them to Woof.
Yeah. Yes. If I were a young adult child, I would go woofing for sure. It is a fantastic way to meet people, and like most of all, make a ton of friends. But yes, there have been woofer love stories for sure.
Mohammed, you have a question.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Tori, I have 2 questions, if you would
Yes.
help me out with those. So you mentioned that at least a few hundred of the woofers were able to work remotely while on the farms.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to picture how this looks like. I'm assuming that they have day jobs, so they would bring their laptop computers to the farm, connect through the internet, work all day, and then they would woof in the evening.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that was absolutely the case for some of them, at least the people that I talked to, or else they would help out for a few hours really early in the morning, work, and then maybe do like another hour or 2 in the late afternoon. I heard of that as well.
Okay, so the hours could vary from one farm to another. As you mentioned, that it really depends on what you agree to sort of between the farm and the woofer.
Correct.
Another question I had was, what would you say is the average trip length for a woofer, and what's the preferred season generally?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The average length of stay we know, at least with our members here that are a part of WOOF USA, is 2 to 3 weeks. That is not to say that a lot of people don't go for much longer, but that average stay is that 2 to 3 week period on a farm. And summer, I should say spring is a really popular time of year. Summer is definitely the most popular. We have a lot of people who, also woof throughout the fall if their schedule allows, but it's really, really common for farms to sort of fill up in the late spring and definitely throughout the summer seasons. But I always plug fall and winter as being really incredible times of year to woof, depending on the type of experience that you're looking for.
Mhm. Well, if the average length of the trip is 2 to 3 weeks, then it may even be possible to take time off work and use your vacation time to go there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for that.
Yeah. Thank you for your questions.
Yeah, that was really good. I mean, now it's showing me that we have like 7 more minutes left, and I know Tori, you have to leave as well. So if we don't have any more questions, then we can let Tori go, and I'll put this up on our channel. And yeah, any more questions, people? Or Tori, you can give us something, like say something that we haven't asked yet.
Yeah. Ooh, really good question. Oh, yes.
Terry has a question.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I have one more question. So how many members do you have overall?
Mhm.
And would you say how many members do you have that are Canadian members, and how many members are American?
Ooh, that's really good. I'd have to look up the statistics on the Canadian members. But it is significant. And right now, we have right around 13,000 active members that are a part of WOOF USA.
Wow. And that's just the USA.
That's just the USA, correct? Yeah, 13,000 members, 1,500 host farms.
Okay. And what about how many members do you have worldwide, or do you know that?
Over 100,000 active woofer members worldwide.
Wow. So it's like a little city.
Yeah, it's like a fun little community, Karen.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I put my email into the chat box. I love talking to people about WOOF and also sending tips and farm recommendations. And we do webinars for new woofers when people do sign up. So there's a lot more information that we do share, or that I would be happy to share with you guys at any time. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out.
Thanks so much for coming.
Yeah, no,
thank you all.
Yeah, you know what? I was in India last year, and I even found WOOF in India.
Great program.
Yeah,
I sound like a broken record, but they do.
And maybe you can tell us very quickly, if we wanted to be a host, then what's the process for that, and how much does that cost?
Yeah, that's great. And I would definitely connect you with my coworker, Jenna. She handles sort of the hosting membership. She's also been a WOOF host. She's hosted woofers on her homestead. The requirements to host are outlined on our website, so I would refer you to that. But yeah, there's a number of different things that you do have to have in place, growing organically, being able to provide the education and food and meals. So we do outline those pretty clearly, and always happy to answer, over phone or video or email, any questions that people have about hosting. And we're actually doing a hosting webinar in 2 days for anybody who's interested. Jenna's leading that. So send me an email. I can send you the webinar link for that. It's going to be really good and informative.
I would like to know that, not for Canada, but I'm originally from India, and I'm thinking maybe we could do something over there.
Yeah, that would be awesome, Sarah. Yeah, Jenna, she would love to share more.
Okay, and if you like, I'm going to take the last 4 minutes, and and if you could tell us that how do people who do come on the WOOF as woofers, what kind of professions they're in, because people have to have the money to do
Mhm.
this, and they're mostly young people. So how are they doing it?
Yeah, well, woofing is a super affordable way, I think,
Yeah.
to travel, since your accommodations and
Mm,
meals, you don't
yeah.
have to worry about those while you're there. So I do think it's a great way to travel affordably. I mean, we have a lot of students who will go woofing during summer break, winter break, or to complete an internship. That's really common. We have a lot of young working professionals, sort of like Mohammed said, who arrange their days so that maybe they only have a week, but that's enough time to have a really impactful experience on a farm. We have had CEOs from really big companies who are like, I just need to get out in nature, like work with my hands. People in the tech industry who you might not necessarily would picture out on a farm, will take 3 weeks off from work, or they'll go and work remotely and have really amazing experiences. As I mentioned, it's retirees, parents who, when their kids have a couple days off for a winter break, will take them out to the farm. So it's kind of everything. And people who get laid off from work or unemployed for a period of time, will go and set up a woof visit and have a really meaningful experience and new skills to put on their resume. So it's kind of everyone. which we
Yeah, and
love.
I saw that a lot of people with younger kids, they go and the kids
Yeah.
are able to actually contribute to the farm as well.
Yeah, and a lot of our host farmers have children themselves and
Mm.
aren't able to leave their farm or traveling. So, it's a great way to bring the world to them as well.
My last and the most critical question. So during COVID, was there a requirement at these farms to only allow people who had taken the vaccine?
There is not. No, that's up to the individual host farmer to decide whether or not people are required. So a lot of them included that information on their profile, whether or not that was a requirement. We had a lot of people do super long stays on host farms and sort of end up quarantining there during COVID, because working outdoor on a farm was actually a really safe place to be, super easy to distance yourself. So yeah, it depended on the individual host farm, and we have some hosts who do require the vaccine and a lot of them who don't.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And
You're
thanks
so
to everyone for coming in and having changed all the links and everything. So sorry about that, but it all worked out. So thanks so much. And I'll see you on the other side with the hosting.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a
you.
great evening.
You take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.